The words hung in the air like smoke from a house fire, acrid, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. My 15-year-old daughter Emma stood in the doorway of my bedroom, her slight frame silhouetted against the hallway light, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, when Dad leaves for his business trip tomorrow, you need to run." I looked up from folding David's shirts, my hands automatically smoothing the wrinkles from his favorite blue Oxford. According to YouTube analytics, 99.3% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. 22 years of marriage had trained my fingers to know every button, every thread of his wardrobe. "What did you say, sweetheart?" Emma stepped into the room, and I saw her face clearly for the first time. Her usually bright eyes were rimmed with red, and there was something in her expression I'd never seen before. A terrible, adult knowledge that no child should carry. "I said you need to run, Mom. When Dad goes to Seattle tomorrow, you need to take Sophie and me, and we need to leave." My youngest daughter, Sophie, only 8 years old, appeared behind Emma like a shadow. She clutched her stuffed elephant to her chest, the one David had won for her at the county fair just 2 months ago. The memory felt like it belonged to someone else's life. "Girls, what's gotten into you? Your father will only be gone for 3 days. It's just another business trip." But even as I said the words, something cold settled in my stomach. David's business trips had become more frequent lately, twice a month instead of his usual quarterly meetings. Emma closed the bedroom door and sat on the edge of my bed. Sophie crawled up beside her, never letting go of her elephant. "Mom, Dad's not going to Seattle for business." Emma's voice cracked. "He's going to see her." The shirt slipped from my hands. "Her?" "The woman he's been calling every night after you fall asleep. The woman whose pictures are hidden in his office drawer. The woman he tells he loves while you're making his coffee in the morning." The room tilted. I gripped the dresser to steady myself. "Emma, I've been listening, Mom. For months." At first, I thought maybe I was hearing things wrong, but then Sophie started having nightmares, and I realized she was hearing the voices through the walls too. Emma reached over and stroked Sophie's hair. "Tell her, Soph." Sophie's voice was so small I had to lean forward to hear her. "The lady's name is Miranda. Daddy tells her he wishes he could be with her all the time. He says he's tired of pretending with us." The words hit me like physical blows. Each syllable carved away another piece of the life I thought I knew. 22 years, 2 children, a house we'd built from the ground up, garden parties where David would put his arm around my waist and tell our friends how lucky he was. Sunday mornings when he'd bring me coffee in bed and we'd plan our retirement. All of it a lie. "There's more, Mom." Emma pulled out her phone, her hands shaking as she scrolled through something. I started recording some of the calls because I knew you'd never believe me. I know it was wrong, but I was scared for us. For you. She pressed play, and David's voice filled the room. My husband of 22 years, the man who'd held my hand through labor, who'd cried when his mother died, who'd promised to love me until death do us part. "Miranda, baby, I can't wait to see you. Just 2 more days and I'll be there. This charade is killing me. I'm done pretending to be happy with Sarah. Done pretending those kids mean anything to me." I snatched the phone and stopped the recording, but the damage was already done. The voice was unmistakably David's, and the cruelty in his tone was something I'd never heard directed at anyone, let alone us. "How long?" I whispered. I think a long time, Mom. Maybe years." Sophie started having the nightmares about 6 months ago, but I've been hearing weird phone calls for over a year. I sank onto the bed between my daughters, these 2 brave little souls who'd been carrying this terrible secret, protecting me from a truth I was too blind to see. Sophie climbed into my lap, and Emma leaned against my shoulder. "We heard him talking to someone yesterday," Emma continued, her voice muffled against my arm. "He's not coming back from this trip, Mom. He's going to empty the bank accounts while he's gone and disappear. He already moved most of his stuff to a storage unit." I saw the receipts in his jacket pocket. The numbness was wearing off, replaced by something sharper. I thought of all the signs I'd missed, or chosen to ignore. The way David had become increasingly critical of everything I did. The way he'd started working late more often. The way he'd stopped touching me, stopped looking at me the way he used to. The way he'd insisted on handling all our finances himself, claiming it was too complicated for me to understand. I'd made excuses for all of it. Marriage is work. We were just going through a rough patch. All couples experience this after 20 years. I'd been so desperate to believe in the life we'd built that I'd ignored the foundation crumbling beneath my feet. "What else?" I asked, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Emma hesitated. "I think he's been stealing money from your business account too, Mom. I saw him on your laptop last week when you were at the grocery store. He closed it really fast when I came in, but I saw the numbers." My catering business, the small company I'd built from nothing, working 16-hour days while raising 2 children. The nest egg I'd carefully cultivated for the girls' college funds. If David had accessed those accounts? I gently moved Sophie off my lap and walked to my laptop. My hands were steady as I logged into my business account, Emma and Sophie watching from the bed. The balance that should have read $47,000 now showed $3,200. "Oh," I breathed, then louder, angrier. "Oh. Mom?" Emma's voice was scared. I closed the laptop and turned to face my daughters. In the space of 20 minutes, my entire world had been revealed as a carefully constructed lie. My husband didn't love me, possibly never had. He was abandoning us for another woman and stealing our financial security to do it. He'd called my children meaningless, but looking at Emma and Sophie, at their worried faces, at the way they'd protected me, at the courage it must have taken to tell me the truth, I realized something important. My world hadn't been destroyed. It had been revealed. And what remained, what was real and true and worth fighting for, was sitting right here on this bed. "Girls," I said, my voice growing stronger with each word, "your father made a very big mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Sophie asked. I smiled, and it felt like the first genuine smile I'd had in months. "He forgot that I'm not the same woman he married 22 years ago. That woman was young and trusting and dependent. I'm not any of those things anymore." I opened my laptop again and began typing furiously. Emma came to stand behind me, reading over my shoulder. "What are you doing, Mom?" "Research. Your father thinks he's so clever, but he forgot that I handle the books for my catering business. I know how money works. I know how to trace transactions. And I definitely know how to make sure he doesn't steal another penny from us." Over the next hour, I discovered the full scope of David's betrayal. He'd been systematically draining our accounts for over a year, moving money to a joint account he'd opened with Miranda. Our savings account, reduced to nearly nothing. My business account, decimated. Even the girls' college funds, which I'd thought were in certificates of deposit, had been liquidated. But David had made one crucial error. In his eagerness to steal from me, he'd used my business computer to access the joint account with Miranda. Every transaction was logged in the browser history he'd forgotten to clear. "Emma, I need you to keep recording if he makes any more phone calls tonight. Can you do that?" She nodded eagerly. "What's the plan?" I looked at my daughters. These 2 incredible human beings who'd been braver than I was, who'd seen the truth when I couldn't, who'd risked their father's anger to protect me. "The plan is that your father is going to learn what happens when you underestimate a woman who spent 22 years taking care of everyone, else's needs while building her own strength. That night, I didn't sleep. While David snored beside me, oblivious to his exposure, I worked. I called my lawyer friend Janet, who agreed to meet me first thing in the morning. I called my bank and put fraud alerts on all our remaining accounts. I called a locksmith and scheduled them for tomorrow afternoon. I called my brother Michael and asked if he could take the girls for a few days. Most importantly, I accessed David's email account. The password had been the same for 15 years, and discovered 2 years' worth of correspondence with Miranda. Love letters, yes, but also detailed plans for their future together, including specific mentions of the money David was freeing up from his dead-end marriage. As the sun rose, David stirred beside me. I watched him wake up, this man I'd shared a bed with for over 2 decades, and felt nothing but cold clarity. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, kissing my cheek with the same casual affection he'd shown me for years. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. "Morning," I replied, my voice steady. "Excited for Seattle? Oh, you know how these quarterly meetings are. Boring, but necessary." He stretched and got out of bed, heading for the shower. "I should be back Sunday night." I listened to the water run and thought about Miranda. Probably waking up in her apartment, excited to see her lover. Did she know about Emma and Sophie? Did she care that she was destroying a family? It didn't matter. David was the one who'd made vows to me. David was the one betraying his children. Miranda was just a symptom of a much larger disease. While David showered, I went downstairs and made him coffee, just like I had every morning for 22 years. But this time, I also made copies of everything I'd discovered the night before. Bank statements, emails, phone records Emma had managed to capture. I organized it all into neat folders, just like I organized everything else in our lives. David came down as I was packing his lunch. "You don't have to do that, Sarah. I can grab something at the airport." "It's no trouble," I said, smiling at him. "I want to take care of you." He hugged me from behind as I worked, and I marveled at how comfortable he was with his deception, how easy it had become for him to lie. "I love you," he said into my hair. "I know exactly how much you love me," I replied. He didn't catch the edge in my voice. After David left for the airport, I put my plan into motion. The girls were already at my brother's house. I'd told them I needed them safe while I handled things. Emma had protested, wanting to stay and help, but I'd convinced her that the best way she could help was by taking care of Sophie. Janet met me at her office at 9 o'clock sharp. "Sarah, I'm so sorry," she said, after reviewing everything I'd brought her. "This is extensive fraud, and the emotional betrayal. How are you holding up?" "I'm angry," I said simply, "and I want him to pay for what he's done to my children." "We can definitely pursue this legally. The theft alone is a felony, given the amounts involved. But I have to warn you, divorce proceedings can get messy, especially with this level of deception." I smiled. "Janet, I don't want messy. I want thorough." By noon, I had restraining orders filed against David, fraud reports submitted to our bank and credit card companies, and a locksmith changing every lock on our house. I'd also done something David would never expect. I'd called Miranda. Her number was in his phone records, of course. She answered on the second ring. "Miranda, this is Sarah Thompson, David's wife." The silence that followed was deafening. "I'm calling because I thought you should know that David won't be able to see you this weekend after all. Or any weekend, actually. You see, I've discovered your little arrangement, and I've taken steps to protect my family and our assets." I don't know what you're talking about," Miranda stammered. "Of course you do. You know about the money David's been stealing from his children's college funds to finance your relationship. You know about the joint account he opened in both your names using funds from my business. You know about the house he promised you we'd sell so you two could start fresh." More silence. Here's what's going to happen, Miranda. David is going to be arrested when he lands in Seattle. The fraud charges are quite serious. Federal, actually, since he crossed state lines with the intent to commit theft. You're going to be questioned as an accessory, since the stolen money is sitting in an account with your name on it. But I didn't know. Didn't know what? That he was married? That he had children? Because I have 2 years of emails where you discuss all of us quite specifically. Where you call my 8-year-old daughter a burden and suggest David should just abandon her. I heard her crying now, but I felt no sympathy. I'm not calling to threaten you, Miranda. I'm calling to give you a choice. You can cooperate with the investigation, return every penny of the stolen money and testify to the fraud, or you can go down with David as an accomplice. Please, she whispered. I loved him. I really loved him. Then you should have encouraged him to get a divorce honorably instead of helping him destroy his children's future. You have until 5 o'clock to decide. I hung up and immediately called the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. Janet had given me the contact information, and I spent an hour providing them with everything I'd discovered. David called me at 3 o'clock from Seattle. Sarah, honey, something weird is happening. I can't access any of our bank accounts, and there are some men here who want to talk to me. They say it's about financial irregularities? Oh, that, I said conversationally. Yes, I reported the theft this morning. You remember the theft, don't you, David? The part where you stole nearly $60,000 from your children's future to fund your affair with Miranda? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Sarah, I can explain. Can you explain why you told Miranda that Emma and Sophie mean nothing to you? Because I have that recorded too. You don't understand. This marriage, it's been dead for years. I was trying to find a way to. You were trying to find a way to steal from your children and abandon your family without consequences. But here's the thing about consequences, David. They find you anyway. Sarah, please. We can work this out. I'll come home. We'll go to counseling. You're not coming home. I've changed the locks. I've filed for divorce. I've filed fraud charges. And Miranda has very kindly agreed to cooperate with the investigation in exchange for immunity. Another long silence. You can't do this to me. And there it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, what about the girls? Not even, I didn't mean for this to happen. Just anger that I'd dared to fight back. I can do this, David. And I have done it. Because you made one crucial mistake. What mistake? You forgot that I'm not the helpless woman you married. I built a successful business while raising our children. I managed our household finances. I networked with lawyers and accountants and business owners. I learned how to be strong because I had to be, because you were never really there, even when you were physically present. I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end of the line. You want to know the truth, David? This marriage was dead. But not for the reasons you think. It died because you stopped trying. You stopped seeing me. You stopped appreciating what I brought to our partnership. You took my love and my work and my sacrifice for granted, and then you decided it wasn't enough. Sarah, I'm not finished. You didn't just cheat on me, David. You stole from your children. You planned to abandon them. You called them meaningless. That's not the act of a man having a midlife crisis. That's the act of someone without a soul. They're my children too. No, I said firmly. Children aren't just biology, David. They're commitment and sacrifice and showing up every single day. Emma protected me from this news for months because she was afraid it would destroy me. Sophie started having nightmares because she could feel her father's rejection even at 8 years old. They've been more mature about this situation than you have. I heard him start to cry, and for a moment I felt the old instinct to comfort him. But then I remembered Emma's terrified face, Sophie clutching her elephant, the recording of him dismissing them as meaningless. The girls will be fine, I continued. They have a mother who loves them and who will fight for them. They have aunts and uncles and grandparents who cherish them. They have a community that values them. What they don't have, and what they no longer need, is a father who sees them as obstacles to his happiness. This isn't over, Sarah. Yes, it is. Your new life with Miranda is over. She's already agreed to cooperate with the authorities. Your old life with us is over. You destroyed that yourself. Your theft is documented, and you'll face the legal consequences. The only thing left is for you to decide whether you want to maintain any relationship with Emma and Sophie going forward. Of course, I want a relationship with my daughters. Then you'll need to earn it. Apologies to them, not to me. Honest explanations about why you made the choices you made. Therapy to understand how your actions affected them. And a commitment to being the father they deserve, not the one who was planning to abandon them. The call ended with David sputtering threats and promises in equal measure. I turned off my phone and sat in the sudden silence of my house. My house now, I supposed. For the first time in months, I felt peaceful. Emma called me that evening from my brother's house. "Mom, Uncle Mike showed us the news. Dad got arrested?" "Yes, sweetheart. The FBI arrested him for the theft. He'll probably be released on bail tomorrow, but he'll have to stay in Seattle until the trial." "Are we going to be okay? Financially, I mean?" I smiled at my 15-year-old daughter, who'd been carrying worries no child should bear. "We're going to be more than okay." Miranda returned all the stolen money this afternoon. "Our lawyer says we'll get the house in the divorce settlement, plus alimony and child support. My catering business is growing, and now I won't have to worry about someone stealing from it. Most importantly, we have each other." "What about Dad?" "I know he did terrible things, but he's still our dad." This was the question I'd been dreading and preparing for in equal measure. "Emma, your father made choices that hurt all of us deeply. Whether he remains part of your life will ultimately be up to you and Sophie as you get older. Right now, he needs to face the consequences of those choices and hopefully learn from them." "Do you think he will? Learn from them?" I thought about the man I'd loved for so many years, the man who'd become a stranger, the man who'd chosen to steal from his own children, rather than have an honest conversation about his unhappiness. "I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so, for your sake and Sophie's. But I've learned something important through all of this. We can't control other people's choices. We can only control our own responses." "What's our response going to be?" "Our response is going to be to build the most amazing life we can imagine, just the three of us. We're going to travel and laugh and support each other's dreams. We're going to host family dinners and game nights and celebrate every achievement, no matter how small. We're going to show the world what a family looks like when it's built on real love instead of obligation." I could hear Emma crying on the other end of the line, but it sounded like relief rather than sadness. "Mom? Yes, baby? I'm proud of you. For fighting back. For protecting us. I'm proud of you too, Emma and Sophie. You two were so brave to tell me the truth. I know it wasn't easy. It wasn't. But watching you handle everything today, I think we're going to be okay. Better than okay." That night, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea and looked around at the house David and I had built together. In a few months, it would legally be mine and the girls'. I could redecorate, rearrange, make it reflect who we were becoming instead of who we used to be. I thought about the woman I'd been when I married David, 23 years old, fresh out of college, eager to build a traditional family. That woman had been defined by her relationships: daughter, wife, mother. She'd derived her worth from how well she served others. But over 22 years, while I wasn't paying attention, that woman had evolved. She'd started a business and made it successful. She'd raised two thoughtful, brave daughters. She'd built networks and friendships and skills. She'd become someone who could stand on her own, fight for what mattered, and create the life she wanted. David's betrayal hadn't destroyed me, it had revealed me. 6 months later, Emma and Sophie came home from their first supervised visit with David since his arrest. He'd pled guilty to the fraud charges and received probation plus full restitution, but the damage to his relationship with his daughters was more complex. "How was it?" I asked, not sure if I wanted to know the answer. Sophie climbed into my lap. "Dad said he was sorry. He cried a lot." "Do you believe him?" I asked gently. "I think he's sorry he got caught," Emma said with a wisdom far beyond her 16 years. "I'm not sure he's sorry for what he did to us." "That's a very mature observation." "He wants to see us more regularly," Sophie said. "But he also wants to know if you'll take him back." I felt Emma watching me carefully, and I chose my words thoughtfully. "What did you tell him?" "We told him that we're happy now," Emma said, "that our family works better with just the three of us, that maybe someday we can be friends with him, but right now we're still hurt." "And what did he say to that?" "He got angry," Sophie reported matter-of-factly. "He said we were being influenced by you, that you were turning us against him." I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Even now, David couldn't take responsibility for his choices. "Girls, you need to know that your father's anger isn't your fault. Adults are responsible for managing their own emotions, even when they don't like the consequences of their actions." "We know, Mom," Emma said. "We're not kids anymore." Looking at them, at Emma's clear-eyed assessment of her father's behavior, at Sophie's calm acceptance of a difficult situation, I realized she was right. My daughters weren't children anymore. They were young women who'd learned to see truth clearly and respond with integrity. "I love you both so much," I said, pulling them close. "I'm so proud of the people you're becoming." "We love you too," Sophie said. "And Mom?" "Yes, baby." When Daddy asked if we missed him, I told him the truth. "What's the truth?" "I miss the daddy I thought he was. But I like the family we have now better." That evening, after the girls had gone to bed, I sat in my garden, the garden I'd expanded after David left, the garden where I now grew vegetables and herbs for my catering business. The night air was warm, and I could hear Emma and Sophie laughing about something upstairs. My phone rang. It was David. "Sarah, we need to talk about the girls. They're different. Distant. They're processing a traumatic experience, David. It takes time. This is your fault. You've poisoned them against me." I sighed. "David, I've never said a negative word about you to Emma and Sophie. I didn't have to. They lived through your betrayal themselves. They heard you dismiss them as meaningless. They watched you steal their college funds. Their response to you is based on your actions, not my influence. I want joint custody. Then you'll need to prove to a judge that you can put their needs before your own. So far, you haven't demonstrated that ability." "Sarah." "David, I'm going to say something, and I need you to really hear it. Your daughters are incredible human beings. They're kind and brave and brilliant. They deserve a father who sees their worth and fights for their happiness. If you can become that person, genuinely become that person, then we can talk about more visitation. But if you can't, then the limited contact you have now is probably what's best for everyone. You can't keep my children from me. I'm not keeping them from you. I'm protecting them from further harm while giving you the opportunity to prove you've changed. The choice is yours." After I hung up, I walked through my house, my sanctuary, my daughter's safe harbor, the place we'd built our new life. In the kitchen, I found a note Emma had left on the counter. "Mom, Sophie and I were talking, and we want you to know that even though everything that happened with Dad was awful, we're grateful for how it turned out. We like our life now. We like seeing you happy. We like knowing that our family is built on truth instead of lies. You're the strongest person we know, and we're proud to be your daughters. P.S. Sophie wants to plant sunflowers in the garden tomorrow. I told her you'd say yes because you always say yes to things that make us happy. Love, Emma and Sophie. I held the note to my chest and smiled through my tears. This was revenge, I realized. Not the destruction of someone who'd wronged me, but the construction of something beautiful from the ruins they had left behind. David had tried to reduce me to nothing, had planned to take everything that mattered and leave me broken. Instead, he'd given me the greatest gift imaginable, the knowledge of my own strength, and the chance to build a life based on authentic love rather than comfortable lies. My daughters and I were free, we were happy, and we were strong. We were everything David had tried to prevent us from becoming. And that, I thought as I turned off the lights and headed upstairs to check on my sleeping girls, was the sweetest revenge of all.